hit my tee shot to the left, and then the wind blew it further left. And, I was almost in the next fairway. So I was literally hitting over the next hole's green, and I couldn't see anything. But I walked up, lined myself up, walked myself back, had a pretty good number. I think I was about 165, 170 out. And I just flushed an iron, and it was an elevated green too. So I had to carry it the whole way. And I flushed an iron to about 5 feet. I came over the hill, and I looked at the guys I was playing with. I said, that's not my ball, right? I thought it was somebody. Couldn't have been my ball. But yeah, that was one of the best shots I ever had.
All right, welcome to the Whole Story Podcast. This is Robbie. I'm with Jonathan and our guest Joe today. We appreciate you guys joining us for the podcast. A quick recap of the weekend stuff. We had the Women's PGA Championship. They were playing at Baltusrol up in New Jersey, so good experience for them. I think everybody loved it. Got through some weather delays and stuff. The winner, Roning Yan, she's a 20-year-old from China. It was her first major. She held off a ton of great competition, so it was good and kind of the favorite or one that people like and cheer for now. Rose Zhang, she got tied for 8th, I believe. She was 3 back, so she's unreal, and they're already calling maybe a favorite for the U.S. Open in a few weeks. They're playing at Pebble.
She's fallen off. 8th. Come on, 3 shots back. What are we doing with ourselves now?
Hey, if you go for first 2 tournaments, win and 8th in a major, then you're all right. So the guys PGA Tour, they were in Connecticut playing at the TPC River Highlands for the Travelers Championship. Joe, I know you've played a lot of golf up in the Northeast. Maybe you've played TPC River Highlands before. We can get to that. But the winner, Keegan Bradley, he's a New England native, so it was kind of his home event. Everybody loves him there. And it was pretty cool. I don't know if you saw it, Jonathan, but the Travelers, from everything I hear, they just do their tournaments really well. The caddies are well taken care of, players are taken care of, but they give Keegan the big trophy, and he's got 2 little boys, and they walk out with 2 little trophies and hand it to them. And that was just a really cool touch of something that, makes a tournament stand out. So
I'll tell you, every time you turned on the TV, if you paid attention any day at all, they'd show a scorecard, and there'd be 4, 5, 6 birdies in a row. There was always someone making a push. And there was a moment the last couple of holes where you were wondering if Keegan was going to choke back a couple or if he was going to be able to finish it out. Obviously, he did just fine. But, man, scoring like that, it's been a long time since I felt like there's been a number of guys come up first day, second day, third day. Every day you look, some great scores posted. Maybe someday I'll have a scorecard that looks like that. Most of mine have boxes and double boxes instead of circles. So we can only hope.
Yeah, Ricky shot a 60. He's still playing well, but a lot of guys. One guy to note, just because there's some South Carolina ties to it, Zach Blair. Yep. This guy's on a medical exemption trying to fight for enough points. He's almost there. He got tied for second, but he ended up shooting, 20 under or something like that. But what stands out to him, he's got the Tree Farm here in South Carolina, a new course that they've developed. I think they did a preview day for the guys that are owners of the thing, and then they take the summers off, I guess, kind of like Augusta, and then in the fall they're going to launch this thing. So, Joe, you'll have to get back down to South Carolina and play the Tree Farm. But his weekly schedule, normally PGA guys, when they practice, they play multiple rounds at the course you're playing. Well, he did this. He did Monday practice round at Eastward Ho, Tuesday Fisher's Island, and Wednesday Wingfoot. He said, you know what, I'm close to all these great courses. I'm going to go play them. So he went out and played, experienced some awesome courses, and then played very well. But we're not here to talk again about recapping any pro golf. We've got a guest. Jonathan, why don't you introduce our guest here?
Yeah, so we've got Joe GolfTraveler, which, man, listen, not only does he have a great Twitter handle, but he also lives up to it. Joe Fellini, he's a former NCAA Golf National Championship Tournament Director, and this is going to be former of every sport that you could ever imagine being a part of. He's definitely lived the dream when it comes to those types of stuff. He was a former MLB team employee. He just got back from Ireland, not playing baseball, but rather golf. And he's played, just racked up, he said, his 425th golf course. we appreciate him coming down to the South every once in a while. 108 courses in South Carolina. He's got quite a few up there in Massachusetts. But Joe, first of all, thanks for taking your time. We're excited to have you on here. Personally, I played baseball through college. It's my I'll be honest, it's my favorite sport. I like golf a lot, but I really like baseball. What MLB team did you play for?
I worked for the Tampa Bay Rays.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in the front office. I worked out of Orlando for them.
I thought I saw that you also were a part of minor league for a while too. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. I was with a single A independent league team in Florence, South Carolina. That's actually where I got my start in sports. And
okay,
it was an experience.
We've got the Augusta Green Jackets here in town. They're single A. Yep. But were you the originator of this? They wouldn't have been the Savannah Bananas, right? Would have been Florence something. Did you have that idea like 20 years ago and you just didn't get it take off?
I wish, boy, oh boy, if I had that idea. And actually, that guy is from up here. He's from Massachusetts, the guy who started it. So, he's a marketing whiz and he's brilliant. So, really good job by him to get that thing rolling. And now they're going all over the country. It's unbelievable.
They are. They're going on tours. So we're not here to talk about baseball completely. That could be another podcast maybe.
Sure.
But I did notice here, I've got golf, MLB. I think I saw a Patriots golf bag.
You just got it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Finally broke down and got a new golf bag.
There were some comments about the Celtics. Just before we went on air, you were part of a hockey team as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I worked in several hockey teams all the way from the Central Hockey League to the IHL to the AHL. You're kind of like a player. You have to go where the jobs are. So I went to Memphis, to Orlando, to Worcester, Massachusetts.
So, I mean, have you done, I'm trying to figure out cricket, badminton, like what sports have you not participated in at this point?
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny you say cricket because we actually, our first day in Ireland this year, we got to play with the most famous cricket player in the history of Ireland, guy by the name of Kevin O'Brien. Boy, can he pound it off the tee, let me tell you.
Well, it seems that you've settled on golf. So why don't you tell us a bit about your trip to Ireland, what that looked like, and maybe we'll get some more golf stories too.
Well, it was a pretty amazing trip. We came up with this idea about a year and a half ago with it's a company out of Ireland called Fairways and Fun Days. And they approached me about doing a group of Twitter followers and putting together a trip. And we were starting off thinking we were going to get 12 people, and all of a sudden we got 20 people. And it was a blast. We had guys from Canada, guys from Massachusetts, guys from Arizona, Florida. So we really had a great time, and we had a lot of fun. The trip was very turnkey because we had transportation. Everything was set up in advance, and it went really well. We played some amazing courses. We started off up in the northwest of the country, and we played Carn, which everybody loves Carn. That's played Carn. It's Tom Coyne's favorite course. And, the people there are just phenomenal. And then from there we did Enniscrone, County Sligo, and then we headed over to Dublin area, which I had never been to before. And we played 3 courses over there. We played the Island Club, which was amazing. Port Marnock Links, which they're doing a lot of work to, which it's an old Bernard Longer design. So I think it might be the first Bernard Longer design I ever played. And then we played County Louth up north, which is a phenomenal golf course. They just played the Irish amateur there. And let me tell you, that course was amazing.
So how many rounds did you guys get in?
Well, my best friend and I played 8 and 9 days because we went early, and we played with a friend of ours over there, and we got to play the European Club, which was probably the toughest course we played in Ireland of all the courses we played. And then we went over to the other side of the country and played Trump Doonbeg, which would have been a lot more fun if it wasn't raining. But let me tell you, for the group part of the trip, we had unbelievable weather. It was 65 and sunny almost every day, which is unheard of in Ireland.
Yeah. Well, you being a travel expert and stuff, what makes a good golf trip? Like if we were going to go to Ireland, like what are besides obviously playing amazing courses, and I don't think you listed one that, or there's probably not a bad course in Ireland, but what makes a good golf trip with a bunch of guys, a bunch of friends? Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I think, it's being realistic on where you're going. There's people who want to go over to Ireland. They want to go to the south and play Old Head, and the southwest and play Ballybunion and Lahinch, and then go up north and play Carn, and then go. Just pick 1 or 2 parts of the country, make it easy on yourself. Have 2 bases like we did. We were in Sligo for most of the northwest part of the trip. We were in Dublin for all of the Dublin trip, part of the trip, obviously. So, you don't want to run around too much and make the courses realistic to where you're staying. I mean, we stayed in the town that Karn was in when we played Enniskrone. It was on the way to Sligo, so we didn't even have to stop anywhere and stay. We went right to Sligo, and then the next 2 days we played courses that were in the town of Sligo. And then we went over to Dublin and we just drove up north a little bit, excuse me, to get to the courses up there. So I think having ease of your bases is really important, to make sure that you're not just running all over the country and trying to hit every course you can. Because, I mean, it's like, I work in the travel industry in my real job. And when I talk to people about going to Italy, I say to them, okay, take Rome and you're either going Rome North or Rome South. You can't do the whole country. And Ireland's the same way when it comes to a golf course. Just pick a couple of spots, stay there, bang out the courses in those areas, and then go back again.
Yeah, need to make multiple trips. That's the key, Jonathan.
Yeah, we've been there three times in the last 3 years, and we loved it.
You've been to Italy, or you've been to
Ireland? We've done Ireland golf trips.
I was going to say, I was like, maybe we've got Italy golf courses on the trip as well.
No, we do need to get that done now.
Have you made the mistake of? It sounds like you might be speaking from experience. Have you made the mistake of spreading everything out and trying to do it all too much at once, or have you been able to sort of rein yourself in and know you're coming back?
Well, we did do a little bit of that the first time we went to Ireland because we weren't sure we were going to go back. So we first of all, I jumped in a car in Ireland, never driven on the wrong side of the road and on the wrong side of the car. So drove after not sleeping on a plane overnight, about 3 hours to get to Kinsale, where Old Head is, which is a phenomenal golf course. But then we had to drive 2 hours up to Killarney. And then from there, we had to drive up and get on a ferry to get to Ballybunion and Lahinch and finish in Lahinch and then drive back to Dublin to get to the airport, which is all the way across the country. So it was a lot of driving, but we thought this might be our only time here. So we played what we call all the big boy courses on that trip.
Yeah, we had Matt Adams on our podcast a few episodes back, and he loves Ireland, right? He got dual citizenship there, and he says Lahinch is his favorite course in the world. I can't remember what hole he was describing, Jonathan, number 6 or something like that. Some crazy par 4 that has a bunker that drops a couple of stories deep. But anyway,
the Devil's Hole or something like that.
Yeah. We'll go with Devil's Hole. Yeah.
That's the nice way of saying it. So what what was the name of the company again? And do they help schedule like meals and things like that for you guys?
They can. Yeah, they're called Fairways and Fun Days. And like I said, they're phenomenal. They made the trip very turnkey. We had a nice 20-person bus with captain's chairs, and they took us all around the country. They put together 2 meals for us, one at a hotel. Our first night we did like a welcome dinner, and then the last night at County Louth we did a goodbye dinner there. That they set up, so it was all included in the trip. But it's also fun not to do that every night either. It's kind of like when you're in Sligo or you're in a big city like Dublin, it's kind of nice to go out and explore on your own and see what's out there.
Yeah, I saw your Twitter, your covers, the Guinness Brewery. Did y'all make a stop there this time? Or?
We did. They took us there. And we were trying to figure out, I mean, we had 20 guys standing there, and we were trying to figure out how many Guinness do you think they pour in a day at this place? And we figured it had to be in the tens of thousands. There's that many people there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's an art to it, right?
Oh, there is. Absolutely. We did the whole pour thing, and yeah, it's really cool. It's a good and they add stuff like that too. The company, when you're doing trips, they'll also set up stuff, and like if you bring wives or girlfriends and they don't play and they want to do something, they can set stuff up for them as well.
That's awesome. So when's the next time you travel back to Ireland?
Well, here's the thing. We thought we were done. My wife told me we were done, but we're thinking we might do a north of Ireland trip in 2025 and try to incorporate the British Open into it because they're playing it at Royal Portrush. So
nice.
We thought maybe play 2 or 3 courses in the north of the Republic of Ireland, go into Northern Ireland, go to the tournament, and then play some courses in Northern Ireland as well. So 2025 might be the next trip to Ireland.
Yeah, maybe so.
I feel like you should just have like a checklist of all the golf courses in Ireland and just be sort of marking them off as you go along. I mean, you've got 108 down in South Carolina. You've got to at least come over 100, right?
That would be good. And the nice thing about playing in Ireland, all kidding aside, guys, is almost every course there is public or pay to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Hogshead is the only private course in the Republic of Ireland. And of course, that's owned by Americans. No surprise.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I'm here in South Carolina, and you again, Jonathan pointed out, you've played 108 courses. You said you lived in Florence for a little while.
Yeah.
What are some of the best courses that you played, or some of your favorites, I guess, here in South Carolina?
Well, I can tell you my number one course I've played anywhere in the world is in South Carolina. That's Kiowa Island, the Ocean Course.
Okay.
We got to play it twice. We played it the year after they had the Ryder Cup. So we're going back to what, 91, 92.
Okay,
and
the first round, yeah.
Then we played it 3 or 4 years ago and had just an amazing time. And we got so lucky the last time we played it because a tropical storm came through 2 days before we got there, and it went up north and it sucked all the air out of Kiowa. So we didn't have a breath of wind when we were playing.
Wow.
So we got very lucky playing Kiowa Island.
Yeah.
I love Harbor Town. I think Harbor Town's just a phenomenal course, a shotmaker's course, very different from Kiowa. I love both the dunes and the Grand Dunes in Myrtle Beach. I think those are 2 of my favorite courses that I played on the Strand, but there's so many great courses in Myrtle Beach. And see, I go back to even before I lived in South Carolina, I used to go down a lot back then they used to call it the DuPont World Amateur Tournament, which I'm sure they've been through 20 sponsors since then. But you play 4 different courses every year. So we used to come down, and that was a big deal for us, the week before Labor Day to go to Myrtle and play.
Yeah. I think I told you when we were messaging back and forth that during college, I went to South Carolina. I did an internship for Myrtle Beach Golf Holiday, and that was the group that ran I think it was the Coolmax World Amateur during that time. So, yeah, great turn. I think there were 4,000 or 5,000 golfers at the time, Jonathan. They spread this thing all up and down the beach. And like Joe said, you're playing 4 rounds of golf, and the winners, they flight it, and the winners end up coming back. But each night at the convention center, they have a big expo, so there's food, there's vendors. It's a great week of golf. So that's really cool that you got to play that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if I could, just for a second, I'd love to pay my respects to one of my best friends. His name was Bob Page. He passed away last year. He was one of the few who played it every year from year one. And I guess over the last few years, they've started a flight where you don't keep score.
Okay.
You just go down and you play 4 rounds, and and he was at that age now that he played in that flight for a few years, but he was the one. He and I went down to start, and he was a great guy, and it's a great tournament. So if you get a chance to play it, you really should.
Absolutely.
I thought I saw online that you might be heading up to the state just north of South Carolina, North Carolina, and be playing at Pinehurst. Is that right? Is that coming up on your schedule?
Yeah, we're leaving Saturday. This is more of a family trip, so I'm only going to sneak in 1 round. And the only way you get to 425 courses is to keep playing different courses. So next Monday, I've got a tee time at Longleaf, which is a neat little course. It used to be a horse track, and they've actually incorporated the horse track into the course. So the railings are still up and everything. And from what I've been told, it's a tale of 2 nines. The first 9 is back into woods and houses and everything, and then you come out for the second 9 is fairly wide open. So it'll be 2 very different looks when it comes to the 9s. And looking forward to it. It's actually a guy I got to be friends with on Twitter. He and I are playing together Monday morning, so I'm looking forward to that.
Have you been to that area before?
Several times, actually. My wife and I are looking to move there in the next 12 months. She's going to retire, and I'm going to keep working for a few more years, but I can work from anywhere. So Pinehurst is the destination. So my wife and I have been there 3 or 4 times. My best friend and I have been there 4 or 5 times on golf trips.
In her retirement, is she going to pick up golf? That way you can, instead of you having to sneak off to grab a round, she's maybe going to come out and play with you?
No, she's going to pick up pickleball. So that'll be her 4 hours, and I'll have my 4 hours. But yeah, Pinehurst is an amazing area. Boy, people think of the resort and the 9 courses there, and it's fabulous. Don't get me wrong. But boy, you've got Pine Needles, Southern Pines, Mid Pines, the Dormy Club, which just went private. There's so many great courses within a 20-mile radius. And then what we used to do is when we drove down, because you'd fly into Raleigh, is on the way down, you could play somewhere on the way. So we played Tobacco Road on the way. We played the 3 college courses in Raleigh. So we played Duke, NC State, and UNC. So that, you can really add some stuff to a trip too on the day you get there and the day you leave.
That's great. My son and I were there a couple weeks ago, and we interviewed Alex, who is the senior media director there at Pinehurst, and we had a ball. We got to play number 2, number 5, and then we played the Cradle, which I'm actually holding the Cradle Crossing
Nice.
Cup here. And it was, I mean, like you said, you can't have a bad time in the Pinehurst area. It's just great to be there. So that's cool that you're looking to move down there. There's probably a couple of guys that are be willing to play golf with you when you're there.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm a couple of guys that'll fly down and meet me too. One thing I'll tell you about Pinehurst was, a funny story was when they started to work on number 4, because they redesigned number 4 a few years ago, was I kept looking at the pictures, because it was different than it is now. It was very different. It didn't have any sand base or anything like that. It was more a resort course. And when they started to change it and I saw the pictures, I actually went back and forth a lot with Matt Janella, because he got to play it right out of the gate. And he said, it's awesome. It's unbelievable. And I kept jokingly calling it Pinehurst number 2A, because it had a lot of the same look as Pinehurst number 2. And I said, why did they do that? Why did they do that? They had something different. Why did they do that? And then I got to play it and I said, okay, now I get it. Now I see why they did it. It's phenomenal. I mean, that's the course that probably when I played it the second time, jumped up the most in my rankings. It probably jumped up about 30 spots.
Very nice. So do you have a rankings like of all the courses you played?
I have the top 100.
Okay.
Trying to go past 100 is tough, but getting the top 100. And boy, 3 trips to Ireland really shook up that list too. I think 17 courses on the list are in Ireland now.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, I'm surprised being in Ireland and playing over there multiple times that the ocean course. Now I've played the ocean course, a few times, maybe half a dozen times, and I love it, but it, maybe just in my head, golf in Ireland might trump that, but yeah.
Well, I went back and forth a lot because the number 2 course on my list is Ballybunion, and I went back and forth saying, boy, does this jump over Kiowa? Does this jump over Kiowa? The difference is, the first 4 or 5 holes at Ballybunion are kind of meandering along. And then when you make the turn and you get into where the water is, it's amazing. Whereas Kiowa, I know it's got some holes on the front that are meh. But boy, you get on that backside of Kiowa and there's nothing like it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful place, and you kind of pinch yourself thinking, man, I'm playing where the Ryder Cup's been, where they've had a couple PGA championships. Yeah. I mean, Phil won at age 50, right? So it's just it's an incredible place. So
as a matter of fact, this picture behind me, it was taken on the 14th green at Kiowa.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah, that it's one of those courses you can think you're playing well, then if the wind's blowing, it'll change your mind real quick. So
jump up and bite you.
Absolutely.
Do you keep your rankings by flags? Is that gold, silver, bronze right behind you?
I wish. This is actually a buddy of mine gave me this. It's a Muirfield Village course flag signed by Phil Mickelson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm a big Phil fan because I'm a lefty.
There it is.
Yeah. And I've always been a Arizona State fan. I have a lot of family that lives in Tempe. They all went to Arizona State. Okay. So for Christmas, I'd get T-shirts and hats and sweatshirts and everything from Sun Devil stuff.
I hit from the correct side of the ball too. I'm left-handed.
Beautiful. There you go.
Yeah.
And he has family in Arizona.
That's right. We're basically, did we just become best friends?
I think you did.
We did.
Well, Joe, you've got a great presence on Twitter, right? I mean, for those that don't know, at GolfTraveler Joe, or you could just look up Joe GolfTraveler. You do a great job just highlighting stuff in golf, and I appreciate it, especially golf travel, talking about different places and stuff. But who are some of the follows that you like out there? Some of the folks that are in the golf world that you enjoy following, keeping up with, and appreciate what they post.
Well, I love Matt. I think Matt's great. I did get to listen to when you had him on. I thought it was phenomenal. And what's the nice thing about, and this is what I like about Twitter is, you can talk to people like them. You can talk to Matt Janella. Yeah, they're open to chatting. Tom Coyne I've talked to a bunch of times on Twitter. So it's people like that I really enjoy talking to, because they don't act like they're above you, even though Tom Coyne's written amazing books. Matt Janella was on the Golf Channel. Matt was on the Golf Channel. But they don't. I think it's a really good community. The golf community, I think, is spectacular. But like I said, I've made friends everywhere. I mean, I could throw anything out at you, and people will come back and say, "Yep, this is the way to do it." Because I was thinking the other day, I'm sure you guys have heard of Landman, the golf course in Nebraska that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
It's the best new golf course in the country and everything. And I was thinking about a trip, and I said, I've always wanted to play Cog Hill outside Chicago. And I said, I wonder if I flew into Chicago, if I could string my way across the Midwest, finish in Landman, and then fly home from Nebraska. I threw that on Twitter, and you can't believe all the people came back to me and said, you can stop here. You can stop here. I'm a member at this course. You come here. You can play with me at my course. And so the Twitter golf community is really spectacular. I've gotten a lot of insight because next year, my buddy and I, our buddy's trip is going to be to Wisconsin. We're not doing Kohler. I know everybody freaks out when I say that, but we're going to fly in, do Erin Hills, and then head up to Sand Valley and do that whole area. And I got 3 invites from people who are members of private courses saying, hey, if you want to come up and play here, you want to come play here. And of course I'm going to take them up on it, not because I get to play a private course, but also, they're such great people that I'd like to just spend 4 or 5 hours with them and hang out with them. And I'm a big Donald Ross fan, and I got an invite to play at Kenosha Country Club, which is a Ross course out there. And it's just the people, the golf people on Twitter are spectacular. That nobody thinks there's very few people on Twitter who look down on you if you haven't played Shinnecock and Marion and Oakmont and all these places. People are very cool, even if they played those places. They're pretty cool. So I think it's the ability to talk to people that you normally wouldn't be able to talk to, but then it's the guys like you and me that just love to talk about golf. And if you go into their area, they're going to say, listen, there's a guy, I think it's Average Dad. He's a great guy. He's in the Midwest. And, he and I actually did a podcast together once, and we were talking about it, and he was one of the first ones who threw it out when I talked about that Chicago to Nebraska. Oh, you got to come play my course. I'm on the way. So, it's just people like that I love talking to, and people who, like people who've come back from Landman now who played it. And I'm talking to them saying, all right, what's it? Is it all the hype? And then people say, oh yeah, it's all the hype.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's the reflection really of what happens everywhere else, right? You said you just went to Ireland, 20 random people, right? Just sort of put together on a bus. But by the last day of it, right? I mean, you spend a couple hours for a couple days, and all of a sudden, hey, whenever you come on by, stay at my place, got a place got another golf course we can get to. And so, it's just taking that technology and the virtual aspect of it all. Like you said, it's all about the people. Who are you going to get to play with? You could have someone be like, hey, I got this horse cart that we're going to go hit golf balls on. You're like, yeah, sure. Why not? Let's go ahead and get some golf.
Absolutely. 100%. And even here in the local area too, when I started thinking about moving, I said, I just put on Twitter, and I really wasn't vying to get anything out of it. I said, boy, this is my bucket list for Massachusetts before I leave. And I put almost every private course you could think of. And I got 3 invites right out of the gate. It's amazing. It's really an amazing community of people. And, the people who are members of places love to share their place with you. Like I got to play Catanza last year with a member, and he was the nicest guy. And he was so proud of the course and just loved walking around and showing me everything. Stuff like that's great. It's like their babies. They love having their kid in their hand and showing off their kid. Golf members at private courses, a lot of them the same way.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan and I talk about this all the time, and he just mentioned it. It's about who you play with, right? And the stories that come from that. I mean, you might not remember what hole number 6 looked like, but forever you'll remember the 4 or 5 hours you got to hang out with whoever. So it's all about the experience there. So you just posted a picture on your Twitter, I think, of a passport. You and your wife passport or something. Said y'all are going somewhere. Is this golf related or
no?
Is this
we're
the
working on it.
Trip? Okay.
No. This is just her and I this year. We're going to try to. The flights are the killer, but we're going to try to get to Sicily this year and just hang out in Taormina and go to Syracuse, and of course, right between the two of them is Mount Etna. So we'd probably hike up Mount Etna and. Never been to an active volcano, so we'll see what that's all about.
Might as well.
Right.
Bring a driver and a ball and a tee just to see what can happen, right?
Right. Joe and the volcano.
There you go.
With as much golf as you played, we like to ask this question to everyone, and this might be hard to pin down. Do you have your favorite best golf shot that you can remember?
That's a great question. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, I do actually. And I got to play Eastwood Ho, which was a thrill to play Eastwood Ho. And it was a windy day, and there's a par four that goes straight out and then it drops down. So it's a blind tee shot, but you can't get to, unless you're a big hitter, you can't get to the drop down and, and get it down in the valley where the green is. So of course I hit my tee shot to the left, and then the wind blew it further left. And, I was almost in the next fairway. So I was literally hitting over the next hole's green, and I couldn't see anything. But I walked up, lined myself up, walked myself back, had a pretty good number. I think I was about 165, 170 out. And I just flushed an iron, and it was an elevated green too. So I had to carry it the whole way. And I flushed an iron to about 5 feet. I came over the hill, and I looked at the guys I was playing with. I said, that's not my ball, right? I thought it was somebody, couldn't have been my ball. But yeah, that was one of the best shots I ever had.
What a great feeling.
That's one of the courses Zach Blair just played. So what was that course like?
Amazing. I mean, it's one of the closest things you'll have to links golf in the United States. I mean, I haven't been to Bandon, but on the East Coast, this is one of the closest I played to links golf. It goes out, very few trees, along the water on Cape Cod. Amazing course. A lot of elevation. You'd be surprised. A lot of elevation changes. The hole after that one actually is a par three, and it's about 175 from the white tees, and it's straight up. I mean, you're hitting. You see the pin, and the pin is all you see up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but it was a great course. If you get a chance, go play it.
Absolutely. Well, you mentioned Bandon. You need to get your buddies and make a trip out there.
Well, what's funny is somebody brought that up about somebody asked a question on Twitter, and the question was, if you haven't been to Bandon, why haven't you been to Bandon? And I responded, and I said, because from Boston, the flight to Ireland is shorter than the flight to Bandon. So if I can keep jumping on a plane in Boston and going to Ireland, some amazing golf.
Yeah. Very nice. Well, I saw I sent this to Jonathan. They're putting in a 19-hole par three course, kind of like the Cradle or something like that.
Yep.
I mean, that seems to be one of the popular thing at these golf courses and resorts and stuff, to have like a really laid back par three thing. So
yeah, I think Sand Valley did it. And I know, I believe, didn't Tiger do the one at Pebble Beach?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tiger designed the one at Pebble Beach. So yeah, they're popping up everywhere.
Yeah, they're fun. My son and I, we kept looping around on the Cradle multiple times. So it was a ton of fun.
And it's so fun to even drive by the Cradle, because it's right on the road. You can see the whole Cradle from the road. And it's so funny. I'll drive by sometimes when I'm there, and you'll see an eightsome out there, and nobody cares, because everybody's you're just having a blast.
Yep. Well, there was a video the other day that somebody posted that there was a hole in one on number 9, and the guys were celebrating, and all of a sudden in the background you hear another hole in one happen. And we talked with Ed Ormsby, the guy who's the starter, who's been there forever, and he said, I mean, now they're probably at 1,700, but they were at like 1,680 something, I think, when we were there a couple of weeks ago. So it's a cool place. But yeah, I hope you have a good time on your trip.
Yeah, we will. I'll tell you a quick story about Pinehurst. Was we were flying down there, and I don't know why we stopped at LaGuardia on the way down. I'm sure it was a cheap flight. And our plane got held up in Islip. So we missed our flight. Flight never happened. And we were supposed to play UNC that day. So tea time was noon. We didn't get to Raleigh until 2, 3 in the afternoon. So I called UNC. I said, hey, we had nothing scheduled the day we were flying home. I said, hey, can I move this to the last day of the trip? They said, absolutely, no problem. And so we just drove right to Pinehurst. We had no plans. And I said to my buddy, you know what? We've never played the Cradle. Let's go play the Cradle. We got to the Cradle about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we had a blast. It was so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't play one of the other courses, like if 2's on your list, I would say play one of the other courses first. But if nothing else, play the Cradle a couple times just to get, the feel, kind of a laid back thing, and then go tackle number 2 or number 4 or something like that. So,
and now you're going to get number 10 pretty soon.
Number 10's on the way, and they said they are moving. They are moving.
And I'll tell you, I got to play the course in its previous life when it was the Pit.
Oh, wow.
And it's a neat course. I'll tell you, it's a neat layout. Really is. So I'm looking forward to playing number 10.
Yeah. Well, Joe, we do something every week. We call it a quick 9. We kind of a rapid fire question thing. We'll roll through a few questions. So feel free to elaborate on these if you want. but we'll kind of take turns asking. But what is, and you've kind of already answered this, and maybe we'll take Kiowa out of it, the ocean course out of it. But besides the ocean course and Ballybunion, let's go with maybe number 3 on your favorite course list.
Number 3 on my list is Bethpage Black.
Okay.
And I'll tell you a quick story about that. We actually did it in a day from Boston. Drove 5 hours to Long Island, played 5 hours, drove home 5 hours all in one day.
Did you not have to sleep in the car, like do that
No.
whole thing?
No, they don't make you do that anymore. You can book tee times. I think it's 36 hours in advance now.
Very
So
nice.
we were going to play on a Thursday. I called Tuesday night, and they said, it was all automated. They said, "What time would you like to play?" I said, "Noon." They said, "We have 11:57." I said, "Done, sold."
Done.
Yeah. But what a golf course, boy! Oh boy,
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
Sounds
But
like
you'll
good work,
pay.
yeah.
You'll pay over and over again playing that course.
What did you shoot? Let me ask that.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a bogey golfer, and I think I played fairly well that day. I think I shot 93, so I was pretty damn happy to walk off with that because they only have
Absolutely.
2 sets of tees there. They only have a forward tee and a back tee. So, and I think the
Okay.
forward tees are 64, 65. So we played 64, 65.
Wow.
All right. I'm always a big fan of food, so I always ask, what is the best snack that you've ever had on a golf course?
Oh man, probably the chowder at Caledonia. That is amazing stuff. Let me tell you.
Doesn't sound bad.
Yeah,
That is good stuff.
yeah,
That's one of my favorite courses in South Carolina.
mine too.
Mike Strant's design. You talked about Tobacco Road, but like just a fun course. I mean, you're hitting Shotmaker course, and it's just beautiful out there.
Yeah, and I've got to get back one more time because I got to play True Blue. So
That
it's
one's
the one
great too.
big course I haven't played in Myrtle Beach yet.
Yeah, that one. It's funny. It's different. Same designer, Mike Strant, but it's different. It's longer. It's more. I don't want to compare it to Pinehurst too because it's not. But like it's got the waist bunkers all around it and everything.
Okay.
So and it's longer. But it's a good course. I like that one as well.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So if you had to give up, you're a big sports guy, right? If you had to give up, maybe watching one sport, what would it be? This is random.
I know this is going to sound crazy coming from Boston, but probably NBA basketball.
Okay.
I love college basketball. I'm a huge fan of college basketball, but the NBA is too one-on-one for me now. I mean, if you give me back the Larry Bird, Magic Johnson days, I would have to think of another sport.
Yeah. Who's your college basketball team?
Oh, people are going to hate me for saying this, but I love Duke.
Ah.
Just because I got to go to a game at Cameron when I lived in Florence, South Carolina, and boy, that atmosphere is unmatched.
Yep. It is fun to watch. I've never been inside Cameron, been outside of it, but I would love to go see a game there sometime.
Yeah, if you get a chance, that's a bucket list place.
Yep.
Speaking of bucket list, do you have a course that is the bucket list? And we usually try to exclude Augusta because almost everyone says, well, if they could play Augusta, they would.
Right.
But do you have one that sits out there that you know for sure you got to find this before you're done?
Well, Jonathan, it's funny you say that because when people ask that question or when I ask that question on social media, I usually ask it. I say, "What's your realistic bucket list course?"
There you go.
Because I really think, people say Augusta, of course. I mean, I went to the Masters this year. It's amazing and everything, but I'm never getting on. Let's face it. So, realistic course, Pasatiempo in California. That's always been on my list. Alistair McKenzie said he thinks it's his best course he ever did. He lived on the course. So, I've always wanted to play Pasatiempo.
Very nice. What's the most holes of golf you've played in a day?
54.
Okay.
I can tell you, going back to the DuPont World Amateur, whatever it's called nowadays, what we used to do, which was really stupid in hindsight, is we used to go, the tournament started on Monday. We would go not the day before, but the Sunday before that. And we had 5-6 guys. So everybody was playing a different course throughout the week because we were all in different flights because we all had different handicaps. And we decided, here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick everybody's courses and we're going to play 36 a day, every day, right up to the tournament.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And then one day we played 54 and we were like, what are we doing? We got to stop this.
And you show up to the tournament, blisters, tired.
Well, let me tell you, I was playing really well at that time. I got my handicap down to an 11, I think. So I was playing pretty good. For me, that's, I'm happy with I was thrilled with an 11. And I went out and we played so much golf. The first 3 days of the tournament, I shot, now remember, I'm an 11. I shot 93, 95, 98. And I said, Jesus. And so the last day, you got to get up early because I think it's a shotgun start about 8 o'clock in the morning. I forget where I was playing. I might have been playing Waterway Hills. And I got up, had a beer right out of the gate, went to the driving range with flip-flops on. I walked over to the first tee. I still had my flip-flops on. Didn't even realize I didn't change my shoes. Went out and shot 80 that day. And I said, all right, now I get it.
Yep.
But yeah, we cut back after that year.
Very nice. All right. Well, let me ask this. What do you prefer, walking or riding when you play?
I love to walk. I can't do it every day. I mean, I'm in my 60s now, so I got bad knees and all that. But I mean, in Ireland, I think I walked all but 2 rounds.
Okay.
And even those rounds, somebody else was driving the cart, and I really just had my clubs in there, and I rode it every so often, but most of the time I walked. I love to walk. I mean, it's a great way to, and like you said, we're talking about playing with people and getting to know people you're playing with. There's no better way to get to know people you're playing with than walking.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Do you have a favorite club in your bag?
7-iron.
7-iron. That's mine too. That's like
I will
the
take that
common
7-iron out anywhere.
What kind of clubs do you play?
The Strixons.
Okay.
Yeah, I just got them 2 years ago. I got fitted for them. Really liked them. But I'll tell you, the thing that changed my game was I went to the Odyssey putters, and man, oh man, are those things good.
That jailbreak, the one that everybody else is using?
Yeah.
Is it really?
It's really good. Boy, oh boy. It changed. I mean, it was the worst part of my game. By far the worst part of my game. And I'm in Ireland, and I'm not making every putt, but boy, I lagged everything within a foot and a half all trip.
We keep telling Jonathan he needs to switch around. He practices in the office right-handed. We keep telling him he just needs to buy a right-handed putter and do it that way.
Why not? I go I go right hand low. So
okay.
I went to right hand low about 2 or 3 years ago, and that really helped too, because I'm very wristy with my putter.
Very nice. What's the best score you've ever shot on a course?
79. A course called Fox Creek in Lydia, South Carolina.
Yeah.
I was out with my buddies one day, and just everything was working. Yeah, they even they have I'll never forget, par 4 dog leg left, and man, I teed the ball really high, and I said, I'm going over. And everybody laughed at me. And it was the one day I actually knocked it over the trees, and I had about 100 yards in, and everybody else was about 170, 180 out. Yep. It was a really good day. I was making everything that day.
My grandparents were from Bishopville, so
sure.
They would go eat Sunday lunch at Mr. B's. I don't know if you ate there when you were done playing at Fox Creek, but that's a great little course. So
yeah, really
very nice. Yep.
Amazing the details you can remember on those days, right?
Yeah. Oh boy, I'll tell you, I remember almost every shot that day.
Well, you've played with so many people in so many places. This might be a hard one. What would be your dream foursome?
Boy, everybody's got to be alive, right?
No,
anybody want to play with?
Well, obviously, it would be my best friend would be there. Because I got to take him.
Give him a shout out. What's his name?
Yeah, Everett Ellis. He's from up here in Boston. He's getting ready to retire. He's retiring next month, actually, from Tufts University.
Is he going to move down to Pinehurst?
No, he's actually looking to go to Florida, but he's going to stay up here for a few years. He's a member at Easton Country Club. It's a pretty cool course up here. It would be him. Boy, I'd love to play with. If I could have played with Arnie Palmer, boy, that would have been the dream. And probably Phil. I think you'd have a lot of fun with Phil. And can I tell you a quick story about Phil?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're playing Kiowa the last time we played it, and it was after the PGA that Rory won, and our caddy was in the Pro-Am in the foursome with Phil. And on the 10th hole, there's these big, massive houses down the right side. I mean, they're set back way back. They're not like right on the course.
I know the story. It's great.
Yeah, and they're like 2-3 stories high. And one guy, he's a venture capitalist, I think, in California, had a rooftop party going on, and they were all screaming for Phil when he was in the fairway. And he had Bones give him 3 balls. He signed all 3 of them, dropped them in the fairway, and he hit all 3 of them up on the roof of the house.
Yep. Across what? The Intercoastal Waterway right there?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yep.
Do you have enough $100 bills to go along with Phil's betting habits?
No.
Yeah, that might be out of everybody's league, right?
Right. But the stories, I bet he must be a
Oh.
great person to just chat with.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
even though we're not in your dream foursome, we would love at some point, Joe, like you said,
That'd be great.
let's get together sometime and play some golf.
Well,
Yeah,
hey, I drove 5 hours to Bethpage. I'll drive anywhere.
he's just
Let's
going to
do
be
it.
up the road here in just a little bit.
I know,
You
a
ain't
couple
kidding.
hours up the road.
Absolutely.
We'll get in touch with Alex and see if he can hook us up out there again.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, Joe, this has been great. I mean, the number of stories that you've got, the number of places, you were rattling off names of courses like they were your kids or something like that. I mean,
Some of them are.
we might want to test you on your kids' names. So just to make sure you know those guys too. But really appreciate you taking the time to be on our podcast here today. If you haven't already, Joe GolfTraveler on Twitter. If you've got an interesting place that maybe he should come play, it sounds like you can just give him a shout out and he's willing to get on the road at any time.
Absolutely.
So-
And we always need help with that Wisconsin trip. So anybody up there, even if you want to come play with us, it's only going to be 2 of us. So anybody wants to
There you
tag along, let us know.
You should probably make sure you do it before it gets too cold up there. No one wants to play whenever it's 20 degrees in Wisconsin.
Well, I'll tell you real funny. I talked to and again, I threw this out on Twitter. I said, Memorial Day, Labor Day, which is the best to go to Wisconsin? Everybody said Labor Day. They said that weather can still be a little shaky in May, but once you get to the early September, it's awesome. So that's what we're looking for next year.
Yep. Well, listener, thank you for joining in. If you made it this far, again, find Joe on Twitter. For Robbie, I'm Jonathan, and this is the Whole Story Podcast.